Hi, I'm Joe Connolly, along with producer Neil A. Carousso, to introduce you to somebody who will tell us how the fitness business has changed. Amanda Freeman founded Strengthen, Lengthen, and Tone studios in New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey. And that's such a great name. I think that's what people want. Amanda, how did you come up with such a great name for a fitness studio?
Well, it was interesting. So we call it SLT for short, which is the, strength and lengthen tones initials, obviously. And at first, the name was going to be Shred Pilates, and the tagline was going to be strengthen, lengthen, tone. And then I decided because our workout, while based in Pilates, is pretty different than traditional Pilates, that I wanted the word Pilates out of the name. And when I couldn't come up with a better name, I used the tagline and its initials as the name because to me, workouts are supposed to be about results. And so the name says it all. You'll get the best results, the results that pretty much everybody is looking for in a workout, you get at SLT.
That's great. And in our business, there's a parallel there. Sometimes what we call the subhead is actually the best line, and you use the subhead line, strengthen, lengthen, and tone. How
Exactly.
has your business changed from March 2020 to today?
Well, basically, it's in some ways recognizable and in some ways unrecognizable. So we had to shut down. We had 26 studios prior to the pandemic. They all shut the same day, March 16th, 2020, and 9 of them never reopened. So we are down to 17 studios. We weren't prepared for such a shutdown, and you can't turn off all your costs just because your studios have to close. And so cash flow management became the key to the business. And so it was, dealing with landlords and negotiating abatements or deferrals or figuring out which locations were going to take too long to come back. And so we did have to close a number of studios. We had to so sadly let everybody go except for I think we had 4 or 6 people remaining at that time. Now that we have been able to reopen, and some of our studios were only closed 6 months, I think at the minimum, maybe 4 months was the minimum. Others were closed for a full year, which is a long time in business. So we had to go back and start bringing employees back one by one. We lost a ton of employees. As I said, studios. The workout is the same, honestly. Now people are still wearing masks, although we've now made masks optional while you're doing the workout. You still have to wear a mask around the studio. And we've spent a lot of time working on at home and how to translate our workout out of the studio into your home. And it's not obvious at all for our workout because our workout is done on this giant piece of equipment that nobody has in their home. And to translate it to the floor is okay, but it's not the same experience. And so behind the scenes, we've spent the entire last 2 years working on an at-home solution.
Amanda, as I hear you tell what you've been through, it's amazing all over again to just imagine. How are you making that transition to an at-home component? Because apparently you expect some demand for that to continue.
Yeah, so we never thought studio fitness was going away, but the minute we had to close our studios, I was regretting the fact that obviously everyone regretted that they didn't anticipate what was to come, but it was very regrettable that we hadn't been thinking about at home, and largely it was because I was so confident in the in-studio product and but prior to the pandemic didn't think anybody wanted to do group workouts from their home. And this is very much a group workout. But I believe that the future, like most people in the fitness industry believe, is an omni-channel future of fitness where you might not get to a studio as many days of the week as you did prior to the pandemic because now it's okay. Personally, I don't love working out at home, but that it's not horrible. And sometimes you can't get to a studio, and sometimes a studio takes 15 minutes to get to, then it's an hour workout, or our workout's 15 minutes, then 15 minutes to get home, and you don't have at that time, you have 30 minutes to work out, and you want the workout so you can do it at home. So I believe, people who, someone like me, I try to work out 4 or 5 times a week. Now, maybe 3 of my workouts are in person and 2 are at home. Again, I like to work out in person, but if there's a great at-home solution, I do it as well. But that's what I believe the future is. There will be people who only work out at home and only work out in a studio, but I believe the majority of people are now going to go hybrid.
Well, you have hit the nail on the head. And that's what we see analysts on Wall Street thinking about. But you just described it more succinctly and better, I think, than anybody. Neil.
Yeah, and to go off of that point, Joe, we saw kind of Peloton's latest reports showing that, they feel that it may be a fad at home, but it obviously makes a lot of sense that you're offering these at-home services. Does that boil down to the training aspect that you have? What's different about your at-home and SLT on-demand training?
So the reason I always say I felt like I was personally, and our business was in the worst position of any fitness business in the country, like put me up against any of them. And we were in the worst position on March 16th because we had so many studios. We were in the markets that were hit the hardest by COVID, and that we're so serious about the regulations, and our workout needs to be done on this giant piece of equipment. And so I said, we should just throw in the towel on the in-home game unless you're going to make a piece of equipment, right? And so that was the key. I think the beauty of the workout is the piece of equipment. So you have to figure out how to make a piece of equipment that is going to do almost all the moves that someone can do in the class at a very affordable price. And our equipment that we buy is not affordable at all. So how do you make this affordable? Our equipment's gigantic. How do you bring it into people's homes? And then the training, to your point, like one of our greatest assets, and we have a lot of competitors that basically offer the same workout. I'll be honest, where we each have our own little angle on it. The key is the experience and the training and the interaction with an instructor. And in a lot of ways, it's form correction, and someone saying lift your right hip, or your foot's on the wrong line, or other right foot. You tell someone to do something with their right foot and they do it with their left, and we all do that. And so it's at home, how do you bring that element there as well? How do you bring the detail of the corrections and the detail of the form? And, that's why this stuff is taking so long. I mean, first of all, supply chain is why things are taking so long, but you're also trying to get things right, is how do we bring the form, the instructor, all of that into the home. And then when you do in-home workouts, you have this element of music that's super complicated. In studios, it's not as music isn't that complicated. You pay a licensing fee for huge libraries of music. At home, it's a whole different ballgame.
So what's the ratio today, Amanda, of those who are working out at home using your at-home service and those that have now returned in person? Has that grown enough? Has that come back enough to where you're able to sustain the in-person gyms?
So to date, we have not released our in-home equipment yet. It is soon to be released. We do have what we call SLT on demand and SLT interactive. So it's SLT at home, but we haven't sold equipment. We actually sold old pieces of equipment from our studios because we did close 9 studios, and we had already converted older equipment out of studios and brought in newer equipment. So we did sell like 150 of our machines to people. People bought other people's in-home equipment, and then we had our floor workout. So we do have at home, but it's extremely small, again, because our people are so used to doing our workout in a studio. So we've had a nice return to the studios. It varies by market. New York has been the hardest hit in terms of people permanently moving or just still not coming back to studios. Our suburbs have recovered much better. They've just not been as restrictive COVID wise. And so we have some studios that are back to 100%. We have other studios that are at like 30% or 50% or 60 or 70%. But there are a handful that, and again, they're not in New York City, that there are areas of Westchester or Greenwich that have seen an amazing influx of people. So those studios are doing great. Whereas, a studio in Flatiron where offices have never reopened just doesn't have the same number of people.
Amanda, a few more questions. This is so interesting. I just want to understand how you sustained for a while with the at-home. So for part of the period, it was basically an online course that everybody did the best that they could with. But now, have you gone into the manufacturing business?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have. So, it's nothing I ever thought I would do. And again, which is why it didn't exist before the pandemic. I didn't feel like people wanted to work out at home. But once people had to, and then they got the taste of it, and some people really like it, and I get it. It was something I felt like we had to do for the future of the business. The rest of our business was contracting so deeply. And who knew how it would be post-pandemic? Obviously, we've seen some very negative data and news out of the at-home fitness space in the last 3 weeks. But I believe, some of those businesses were overvalued. They were oversaturated. There was no way they were going to grow more than they grew. I still believe that there's an opportunity in categories for at-home.
I think you made a great case for that. But are you having metal and steel fabricated someplace in the world to do all this?
Yes, unfortunately.
How did you possibly get into the heavy equipment construction business? I never heard such a thing.
Yeah, hardware. Now we were never in the software business or the hardware business. We just delivered workouts. Now we're in the software and hardware business because you've got to create the content, and that's a software play.
Wow.
Neil, a couple more.
Yeah, that's wild how things have changed so much in 2 years. So what's the future for you?
I think it remains to be seen, but I don't think that studio fitness, I don't think boutique fitness is going away. I don't think gyms are going away. Obviously, we see people coming back to them. I do think, not everyone survives because there were so many players in the industry. So some people are gone, which is sad for them, but also it's a healthier industry with a little bit less of the competition. But we plan to continue to grow conservatively with our physical studios. I say conservatively because, there are certain places we don't belong. And then I think we will go deeper in the at home or, out of studio business. So we'll be doing both for sure.
Seems like you're finding your niche now. And Joe, we were talking about kind of different types of workouts. It seems like this is an intense workout. Can you walk Joe and me through what you teach in these classes? And I'd imagine that with at home, it must be a challenge to do that.
Yeah. So our workout is best described, although I don't like to say it, but I say it's either a high intensity version of Pilates, or we say it's cardio, strength training, and Pilates had a baby. It would be SLT. And the reason I don't love to say the word Pilates, but it is the best way to describe it, is Pilates was developed as rehab, and it isn't high intensity. It's low intensity, very much to help develop a stronger core or help with back, neck, injuries, all that. But what we do is not that at all. It is a very high intensity, evolved version of that. It's strength training, and the results are amazing. It's the strength and length and tone results. And it's very challenging, but doable for all fitness levels. The first time anybody does the class, they don't know what the heck just happened. Hopefully they feel sore in a good way about 36 hours later, and that is what compels them to come back, because it's usually not the most pleasant first experience, but you do get the idea of how it can evolve for you and whether it clicks with you or not.
And finally, I'm just curious, what do you find appeals to customers in the descriptions and personalities of trainers?
It's definitely an art and a science. If I could bottle up charisma and figure out how to teach charisma, I would. People like positive instructors, encouraging instructors that know their names and try to get to know them a little personally, that they can and that are knowledgeable. So you need so much to be that what I call a star instructor. And AtHome is so much about star instructors. And honestly, SLT has never been about a star instructor business. We like hardworking, smart, talented instructors, but the world of fitness has really gone the way of like the cult of personality of fitness. And it had gone that way. Then it was a little not that way. And then when AtHome became so big, it was 100% that way, where one instructor could have 1,000 people doing the same workout. And so, if you can bottle it up, it's hard to teach, but you need that motivation, the positivity, and the knowledge for someone to really flock to you.
Amanda, you could teach business anywhere with what you have been through. That's
my next career. I'd like to teach business somewhere.
How about motivational speaking?
Yes.
It's just amazing to hear what you have done. Best of luck to you. Great to meet you, Amanda. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys too. Thanks.